I got a good bit of wind out here this morning, but it's supposed to drop to about 31 today, and then it's supposed to be about 35 tomorrow. I thought I was getting a cold yesterday. My nose was hurting pretty bad, and I was having a headache, but I fell asleep, and I slept for like 9.5 hours. So I slept a long time last night. I thought I was getting a cold. My head was hurting, and then I fell asleep, and I ended up sleeping like 9.5 hours, and I woke up this morning and I'm feeling better, so that's good. And yesterday, and okay, so we've been talking, or I've been talking about like when I take a look at what I'm doing, right? All right, when I take a look at what I'm doing, I need to take a look at it for what it is, right? I always say taking a look at things through the objective lens. And the thing about this whole situation is that okay, so I got a lot of wind coming in. I'm gonna see if I can block the wind, but the whole thing about this was that so I was thinking about this this morning, and I was actually thinking about this last night, but the whole thing about what I've been saying is that I know that I mean what I say, and I know that I'm giving the utmost sincere information when I think about it like this. If I were to be speaking to the people that like my family, the people that I care about the most in the world, if I were speaking to my family, I would tell them the same thing. All right, because this whole thing that I'm doing, it's like I understand that I'm about to be risking it for a biscuit, right? I've talked about this. I'm about to push this thing, to a point. Even as of right now, this is borderline. It's just not possible for people. All right. Even as of right now, this is just not something that can be done. The only way to really get to a point like this is if, you're legitimately going to have to practice every single day for the next 15 years of your life. And you're going to have to practice like 15 hours a day. All right. When I take a look at what I do, I don't know anybody that can even do 10%. All right. And it's that bad. And so, it's like if I'm going to be pushing myself forward from here, I talked about my bigger, broader business idea is that this land that I'm buying right now, the purpose of this land that I am buying right now is not to be my end all be all. The purpose of the land that I'm buying right now is that it is in a good location to run a cattle farm, and also I'm going to utilize it to make enough money, so I can, effectively do other things, right? I can go and I can purchase myself a real big ranch, right? I've talked about this, the big idea for this farm that I am purchasing right now, the big idea for this land that I'm purchasing right now is to effectively just be a halfway point so that I can collect money so that I can move on to a bigger piece of land. And so, and when I think about it for what it is, if I were to, I've been talking about this because it's like the whole thing about this is that, I took a look at it for what it is, okay? I took a look at it for what it is. Even as of right now, I am effectively the only person on the entire planet that can run a business like this. The only one. All right, effectively, maybe there are 5 people on the entire planet that can do this. And my family, okay, if something, and I was talking about this because my big situation is that if something happens to me, I don't want my family to be stuck in a bind, right? It's like, Howard was pursuing his business. Howard was looking to, go and I also thought about it from this perspective. But if I were to drop dead tomorrow, I would want to go forward with my plans. All right, if I were going to drop dead tomorrow, I would want to go and be all that I can be today. All right, and so the thing about this whole situation is that it's kind of a multi-perspective thing. But I would tell my family the exact same thing that I was telling y'all. All right, don't even attempt to run the business. Just take all of my cattle, liquidate all of my cattle. I have land. The land is equitable. right? My cattle are profitable and my land is equitable. I would tell my family the exact same thing that I'm telling y'all. Don't even attempt to run the business, because if you run the business, you're just gonna lose all of the money. I guarantee it. All right. I would tell my family the exact same thing. Right. I have land and I have equity. I have equity that I have stored in my cattle. Just liquidate my animals, and you also have the land, and so I make a substantial amount of money. I would tell my family the same thing. I would tell them, don't even worry about running the business. You can't run the business. All right, it's not possible. If you could do it, you would be doing it already. And so, I would tell my family the exact same thing. Don't even attempt to run the business. Just liquidate the cattle, and then you can just take the money and, buy the S&P 500 or something like that. I would tell my family the exact same thing that I've been telling y'all. And my family, I care about my mama more than I care about any single one of you. So, I thought about this, and I was like, I would tell my family the exact same thing. All right, don't even attempt to run the business. If you attempt to run the business, you're just gonna lose all of the money. All right, and so just liquidate the cattle and take the land, and you can sell the land if need be, and then you can take all the money that I've made throughout my life, and you can just put it in the S&P 500, and you get yourself a 2%, or I can even just whatever, right? Have that done, and you get a 2% return, or you get a check for 2% of the stock portfolio a year. Because I really thought about this, and I was like, okay, so if I'm going to push forward with this thing, and because you never know, right? I mean, I could get into a massive car crash tomorrow. I mean, nobody knows, right? I mean, I could have a heart attack next week. I could, whatever it may be, right? I mean, I could end up deceased in a week. Nobody knows, right? And so I was like, if I'm going to go forward with this thing, I really want to make sure that I think of an exit at the same time that I think of an entrance. Because what's going to happen is that, okay, what's going to happen when I take a look at my business plan, and what do I see happening? Within the next 5 months or so, these animals, I have a 5.5 month. I don't have to pay anything until May. I have a non-payment agreement until May. I take a look at my animals, and I would say that 80% of these animals are going to be going to market by May. All right, 80% or so of these animals are going to be going to market by May. And when I sell these 33 animals, I will have enough money to purchase about 60 animals, and that's just the money that I have. If I have 60, if I sell these 33 animals, I will have enough money to purchase, to purchase 60 animals. And let's say I have 60 animals, and then I utilize my numbers, and I end up with 50 to 55 animals left over. All right, I'm working on my onboarding program. I'm even thinking about potentially feeding my animals antibiotics. I know that this is a very common commercial practice, is to feed antibiotics through their food. And so but let's say that I sell my 33 animals and I make enough money to purchase 60 animals. I make enough money to purchase 60 animals, and I purchase those 60 animals, and then I end up with 50. If I end up with 50 animals, that's just the money that I had, that I invested. So I am in the net positive. So if I have 50 animals in the net positive, then I will take a loan to purchase 50 more animals. Why would I do that? Because if I have 50 animals of my own money and I have 50 animals of the bank's money, then I am at a net zero. It doesn't matter. I'm not negative anything. I'm just at a net zero. But the big benefit is that I'm at a net zero, but I am appreciating 100 cattle at the same time. That's the big benefit, right? The big benefit is that I am appreciating more assets at the same time. And so when I think about it for what it is, I mean, it's like if I have 100 cattle, and think about it like this: if I have 100 cattle and I raise those 100 cattle, and I raise them for 9 months, effectively, if I use my benchmark numbers, I have a 200-pound animal, and I raise that animal for 9 months. Within about 9 months, that animal will effectively weigh about 850 pounds. All right, and if that animal, okay, if I have 100 animals and 50 animals worth of debt, when I sell those 100 animals, I will effectively make enough money to purchase 200 animals. And if I make enough money to purchase 200 animals and I need to subtract 50 animals to pay the bank back, I still have 150 animals. And I actually thought about this, and this is why I utilize leverage. And this is also but when I talk about leverage, you have to understand that leverage is very dangerous. All right, I'm very, I put a lot of emphasis on this idea. You do not want to be in a situation where you leverage yourself to the eyeballs to do what it is that you want. Me, when I leverage, I take a look at my tax situation, and I also take a look at the evaluation of my asset portfolio. All right, I take a look at the monetary consideration for my asset portfolio, and then I take a loan for the net positive amount. Why do I do that? Because then it puts me at zero. It doesn't put me in the negative. It doesn't put me in the negative. It gives me a lot of good tax benefits, and also, now I get to appreciate more cattle at the same time. And I actually realize that when I take a look at it for what it is, I actually make more than a 100% return every 9 months. And this is what I mean. Because when I actually think about my business plan in its entirety, if I have 50 animals and then I take a loan to purchase 50 more animals, that puts me at a net zero. I have 100 animals. If I take those 100 animals from 200 pounds to 800 pounds, when I sell those 100 animals, I make enough money to purchase 200 animals. So I purchase, and then I take 50 of those animals to pay the bank back. I now went from having 50 animals to having 150 animals. I actually make a borderline like 400% return on my money a year. And so I did not realize this, but and this is also, I mean, maybe not 400%, but something like, but I mean, that's more of a realistic look at how I do, how the money in my business operates, how the money works. And so it's like, if I start off with 50 animals, I take a loan to purchase 50 more animals. These are benchmark entry-level animals, 200-pound animals, number 1 to 1.5 type medium large frame. I take my 50 animals and then I take a loan for 50 more animals. That gives me 100 animals. I take those 100 animals from 200 pounds to 850 pounds by the time they're within about 9 months. And then when I liquidate those animals, I liquidate those 100 animals. I effectively make enough money to purchase 200 animals. I pay the bank back with 50 more animals, and now I have 150 animals worth of money. I take my 150 animals worth of money. I invest that money, and then I take a loan from the bank to purchase 150 more. That puts me at 300 animals, and that's just after 9 months. All right, and so this is also what I'm talking about when I say my big idea is that if my whole thing about this me purchasing a new field, the thing about me purchasing this new field is that I really want to just keep my herd at about 100 animals. And if I have 100 animals and then I end up in a situation where I have 150 animals worth of money, if I have 150 animals worth of money, but I anticipate that it's going to cost me about 35 animals worth of money for me to run my business, right? I mean, 35 animals worth of money is what it's going to cost me, and it's going to cost me about 35 850-pound animals for me to run my business. And so, if you think about it for what it is, but it's still a good situation for me, right? I mean, it's still like I start off with 50 animals, and 9 months later, I have 115 animals, right? I mean, it's still a very good situation for me. I'm still more than making a 200% return on my money every 9 months. And so, and this is what I meant by, if I have, I really want to keep myself in a situation until I purchase myself a new field. I just want to keep myself in a situation where I have a herd count of about 100 animals. I want to keep my herd count at about 100 animals, and then it's like when I raise those animals and I make enough money, and I raise those animals effectively. When I sell those animals, I will have enough money to purchase 200 animals, right? And then I think about And then effectively about every 9 months, I will have about 20 to 25 animals worth of money left over. And then I can go and I can purchase whatever it is that I need. I can purchase whatever it is that I need, and I will have about 50 animals, 100 animals worth of equity in my herd, right? I will have money that I have stored in my herd. I will be producing a net positive cash flow, and then I'm gonna purchase whatever it is that I need. I'm gonna build my cash pile as large as I can, and then I believe that within about a year, I will be ready to move forward and purchase myself a larger ranch. That's the big idea. The purpose of me purchasing this field that I am purchasing right now is not to be an end-all be-all. It is to be essentially a place where I can just collect money, and then I can move forward onto the big one. What I'm calling the big one, right? I'm gonna go and get the big one. And so that's the big idea. And if you take a look at it in terms of a monetary standard, here in about 5 months, I don't need to pay anything until May. Okay, I don't need to pay anything until May. I'm gonna spend a couple of $1,000s on a fertilizer, but that's about it. So it's effectively zero expenses until May. And so and 80% of these animals will be ready to go to market by May. All right, and so when I sell these animals in May, I will effectively make enough money to purchase 2 animals every time I sell one. And so that will put me at a net positive of about I'll end up with about after it's all said and done, I'll have about 50 animals. I take those 50 animals, that is just my money. I go to the bank and I take a loan to purchase 50 more animals. That puts me at 100 animals. I am now appreciating 100 animals at the same time. All right, and then when I appreciate those animals, those 100 animals, and then et cetera, those 100 animals, when I sell those animals, I will effectively have enough money to purchase about 200 animals. And then, and when it's all said and done, I'll have about 30 to 40 cattle a year or so. I'll have about 20 to 30 or so cattle a year to just buy whatever it is that, it'll probably be closer to 30 or 40 cattle a year to purchase whatever it is that I need. And then, I'll have probably about 70 cattle worth. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the number is going to be, but I'll also have, probably about 70 cattle worth of equity, right? I mean, I'll effectively, I'm gonna grow my cash pile by about because I was actually taking a look at this whole thing too. I know I got a lot of wind out here right now. I was taking a look at this whole thing too, and it was like, right now, I would say that I'm sitting on probably, I'm sitting on about a 200, maybe 200. Because I was thinking about this, and I was like, in reality, like if I was hit by if I got hit by a bolt of lightning, today. I would effectively be giving my family a check for about 225 grand. Effectively, I have about $225,000 cash right now. Okay, and I believe that within about 9 months, I'll have somewhere between $500,000 to $750,000 cash. And then when I have that, I'll move forward. And then I'll go and I'll purchase myself a real big ranch. That's the big plan. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna buy myself a real big ranch, and then that's the big idea. And so but that's what I got going. And that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.